In the community, it's regularly discussed what would happen if Kizaru went to Wano, and it could be for a number of reasons, mainly his power scaling, but a lot of people like to fairy craft with it as well. And since I've seen a lot of people have done this sort of what if, I just had to put my own little spin on it and add Sakazuki to the pile. So strap in, because I'm going to get real in depth with this video. Before I start the video, if you guys like this type of content, you guys know what to do, hit that like button and subscribe, as I do put out content like this regularly, and you know what, it's a win-win. You guys show support and I'll give it back to you in videos, whether it's One Piece, other anime, or just fiction in general. In due time I'm going to cover it, so be there when I go there. Anyway, that's enough of my rambling. Why don't we get into the what if and see what would happen if Sakazuki and Kizaru went to Wano. And so as per usual, I'm going to go over the rules. In this scenario, I'll be going over what would most likely happen if they did both go. So I'm not going to be doing anything like out of the ordinary. So say for instance, like I make Kizaru or Sakazuki or Kaido or Luffy do something that's out of character. I'm not going to do that, as that's not what's going to really happen in the story. And I don't really have a second rule for this. It's just a what if. So sit back and relax and let's get into the what if. As we know in the story, Kizaru asks Sakazuki if he's allowed to go to Wano, and obviously Sakazuki says no. But in this timeline, I'm going to make sure that they both go. Why? Because it's easier to wipe out the Straw Hat Pirates, Kaido and Big Mom, if both of them go. In the eyes of Sakazuki, this is going to be a complete wipeout mission. It's not going to be anything where it's like, oh, we go and scout. No, it's a complete wipeout mission, and they want to defeat Kaido, Big Mom and Luffy all in one go, so they're out of the way. So instead here he says yes, and he says I'll come with you because, well, we need to get them gone. And I wouldn't say this is too far out of character, since he is on the absolute justice path, so this would be a really good way to show that absolute justice. So with that being said, they suit up and boot up and they get to Wano. Now you're going to be wondering, when do they actually get to Wano? I think the perfect time for them to get to Wano is after Luffy loses to Kaido when he uses ACOC for the first time, and so they get there when Luffy's obviously in the water. You got the Heart Pirates inside the water, and then the marine ships just arrive above them, and so they grab Luffy, but they don't really know what to do. Now originally I had Sakazuki shooting down Onigashima, since I feel like he's just the type of person to do that. He's like, I'm not traveling all the way up there, just come down to me, and he'll just feel like a massive fire fist, or like magma fist I should say, up to the island. But let's just say him and Kizaru go up there with a few marine soldiers that can use Geppo. So when they arrive on the island, obviously people have just been told that Luffy's lost, and then they have Sakazuki and Kizaru just arriving on the island with a few marine soldiers. Now this is where it gets hectic, because everybody's running around and wondering, why are these two admirals here? In fact, not just two admirals, a fleet admiral and an admiral. I can see people like Marco and whatnot trying to get involved, and obviously people like King and Sanji, but I feel like I want to keep them to the side and just have the admirals go to where they need to go to. Just realized I haven't really discussed the admiral's game plan. Well, the admiral's game plan is very simple. The mission is very simple: kill Luffy, Kaido and Big Mom. So what they're gonna do is Sakazuki is gonna go up to fight Kaido while Kizaru fights Big Mom. Now this is around the time when Law and Kid start fighting Big Mom, and so when you have just Kizaru rolling up and being like, yo, what's gonna shoot Big Mom in her back, it's gonna really stun everybody there. Now I think this is where Big Mom has to come to a massive decision. In fact, I'll say even two massive decisions. Does she A, team up with Kid and Law to take down Kizaru, or B, just go on her own and fight as she is and try to take down all three of them at once? And the second decision is whether she wants to actually use her advanced conquerors Haki in her full Haki bag so she can deal with everyone there. Now in my eyes, I think the second decision is way easier than the first. I think she's actually gonna go all out so she can deal with everybody there, but I don't know if she's gonna want to team up with Kid and Law. She could either see it as, well, okay, we're all pirates here, so we might as well just team up against the one navy person here, or she could be like, you know, I'm not taking no damn allies, I'm just gonna fight on my own, because just that's how I am. But with that being said, I feel like this is when CP0 would get involved, as Akainu and Kizaru have made it clear to them that this is going to be an elimination mission. It's gonna be everybody is getting wiped out, so I can see CP0 getting involved, and CP0 will split up. They're gonna go fight Kid and Law, and some of them will go up to the rooftop to go fight Luffy and Kaido. And so either way, for right now, Big Mom's gonna have to fight Kizaru on her own, while Kid and Law have to deal with CP0. Now I don't think CP0 is gonna be a massive thing for Kid and Law. If we want to say they're around Lucci and Kaku's like power level and whatnot, I do believe that they'll have minor troubles, but with their awakenings, and if they want to actually just combo together, CP0 won't be an issue for them, not at all. And so since we covered what Big Mom and Kizaru are doing, why don't we go up to the rooftop and see what Sakazuki and Kaido were doing. Now before, I did mention Luffy, but Luffy has not arrived yet. Right now Kaido is still fighting Yamato, and so Sakazuki has interrupted their fight. Now with Sakazuki here, I know Yamato's gonna be very confused and she probably won't know who he is, and Kaido is probably gonna try to explain to her, but I feel like this is the point where she's gonna be like, okay cool, somebody else is gonna take over my job, I'm out, goodbye. Because her main mission was to stall Kaido for Luffy to get back, but seeing as Sakazuki is here, I don't believe she's just gonna sit there and just let everything fester. I think she's gonna go down, go try to find the bombs and whatnot and just do whatever she was doing on that island. But you couldn't make a case of her staying there since Momo hasn't arrived and she would have to look after Momo, but I do believe that she's gonna go around the island and try to find something to do. But talking about Momo, why don't we focus on him and Luffy, and this is when they arrive to the rooftop, and so Luffy has now joined in on the battle, and I feel like Yamato obviously sensed Momo's there and Luffy's there, so she'll obviously go back up to the rooftop and go grab Momo so she can deal with a few things with him. And so this is when like the real fight starts. It's gonna be Sakazuki versus Kaido and Luffy, and I feel like Luffy and Kaido will come to an agreement like, okay cool, Sakazuki's here, Luffy's gonna be like, I have a real problem with this guy. Like, this guy has done some real trauma to me. Like, he's done some real damage to me. So I gotta deal with this guy. And Kaido's gonna be like, cool, whatever. Like, Kaido also has the route of him being like, alright, well, let's do like a massive 1v1v1 versus like, I don't know, the other CP0 members like with us as well. And it's just like a massive brawl on the roof, which is what Kaido probably wants since he is a warrior. He wants that type of big battle. But Luffy's not gonna be focused on anybody else aside from Akainu. And if people try to get in his way, he's gonna get mad. So I can see CP0 trying to get involved with Luffy, and they're gonna like start to tire him out. It's not going to be like, oh, they're doing a lot of things to him, but when he's trying to fight Akainu's landing blows, and obviously at this point Luffy is strong, don't get me wrong, Luffy is strong, but he's not on that level yet. He hasn't gotten that next power up yet, so he's not on that level. So when you have him trying to fight Akainu, and then you got Kaido obviously tagging in, hitting Akainu as well, but then on the side you have CP0 members trying to weaken Luffy and just like tag Luffy here and there, it's gonna get on his nerves. It's gonna allow Akainu to land a few dangerous blows on him. And so I can see Luffy just defeating all the CP0 members and trying to fight Sakazuki, but I feel like this is the point where Sakazuki is gonna deal that blow to him to then take him down. Now don't get me wrong, Sakazuki is gonna be really injured at this point since he's fighting two people at once, but CP0 coming in and distracting Luffy and Kaido at certain points is going to help him a little bit, since, you know, if he's able to hit somebody while they're distracted, it's going to do a lot more damage. And so with Luffy defeated, Sakazuki gets that little morale boost and now he's fighting against Kaido, and so him and Kaido go at it, and obviously with CP0 done, it's just like a real fight. And I can see Sakazuki actually using his full power here, since, you know, he's on somewhere where he doesn't really need to care for the land he's on, so everyone's getting turned to magma. I can see Kaido sort of implementing some sort of magma style, since we know he can do it in this full zone mode. Could he do it in this hybrid? We don't know. But all we know is that he will be able to take that magma, but he's gonna take a lot of damage while he's fighting Akainu. Now as we know, when Luffy is defeated in Wano, he obviously comes back with gear 5, and this is the point where he would come back with gear 5. And so when Luffy re-enters the battle, I feel like it's just a one-sided stomp from Kaido and Luffy, and they just completely defeat Sakazuki. Now as I was writing the script, it did occur to me that Sakazuki's like health, like, okay, is he gonna die or is he gonna just be knocked out, is a massive thing here, since I don't believe Luffy wants Kaido or himself to kill Sakazuki. Technically Sakazuki did kill him and then Ace, but I don't know if Luffy is that type of person to be like, okay, I want to kill you now. I don't see Luffy as that type of person. I know Oda did say that Luffy likes to keep his opponents like alive, so because they can always bounce back or something like that. So I don't know if he's going to intentionally kill Sakazuki. If you want to say that Kaido can sneak in a hit and obviously be like, okay cool, he's dead, then that's fine, but I say we're gonna keep Sakazuki alive. And so with that, Kaido versus Luffy commences. And so since we covered so much on the rooftop, why don't we go back down to the floor and see what's happening with Kizaru and Big Mom. At this point, Kizaru versus Big Mom is going to be ending, since I do believe that Big Mom would be able to just defeat him by now. And I can see Law and Kid being like, okay, well, Kizaru's done. He's done a lot of damage to Big Mom. Like, Kizaru versus Big Mom isn't going to be a whole one-sided fight. It's going to be very, like, it's going to be an extreme diff fight for Big Mom. So I can see them stepping in and being like, okay, we're going to clean up the scraps. They've barely used, like, a lot of their stamina, as CP0 wasn't enough to do that much to them. So I can see them stepping in and being like, okay, we're going to be a cleanup crew. Even if it's full power Big Mom, I can see her being really weakened from Kizaru, and so they're going to be able to just sweep her up. It will be hard for them though. It will be extremely hard, and they're going to have to do a lot of damage to her, but I can see them defeating her. And if they can't defeat her alone, then I can see everybody else around them, like Izo, Marco, and everybody else just around the floor, just helping out to deal those final blows. Now I can see Kizaru being killed here by Big Mom, as Big Mom is probably that type of person just to straight up kill you. I don't know if they're going to kill Big Mom. I mean, look, they knocked her into the lava in canon, and I don't see that happening here, since Yamato is going to deal with the bombs and then go back up for Momo. And so I can see Big Mom losing, and then Kizaru is killed, and then up on the rooftop we then have Luffy and Kaido boxing it out. And I think obviously Luffy's gonna win here because he's got gear 5, he's got that extra spurt and power, but Sakazuki did a lot to Kaido, so Kaido's been withered down a lot, and so Luffy's able to just come in with those final last punches and win. So everything else with Zoro, Sanji, and just the rest of the Straw Hats will go pretty well. I mean, the Marines are going to come in and try to disrupt them, but I can see King and Sanji just being like, move out of our fight. I can see King blowing up whoever comes in their way, especially the Marines that will see his face and be like, oh wait, isn't that a Lunarian? And then they're going to be like, okay, let me just deal with you real quick. So just like in canon, I can see Kaido getting knocked into the magma, but Sakazuki is still alive, and so is Big Mom. And I say Big Mom survives because she wasn't knocked anywhere due to the bombs, she was just defeated on the island, and I can see Kizaru being killed. So with Onigashima done, I can see them being thrown into Udon, and Udon needs to be massively protected now. It's not some sort of random prison where you got low level thugs, or just not even low level thugs, but like high tier thugs like, I don't know, King and Queen. No, they're gonna have Yonko and Admirals just chilling in that prison, so I can see people surveilling it heavily and wrapping him up in some good sea stone cuffs. Now although the raid was hectic, I think what happens after is going to be even more hectic. With Sakazuki defeated, Kaido dead, Kizaru dead, and Big Mom defeated, it leaves a massive power gap and everything just feels crazy inside the One Piece world. As per usual, I do believe that Buggy is going to be elected a new Yonko along with Luffy, and I feel like Luffy's bounty is going to be way higher than it was in canon. And so this leaves what happens with Green Ball to become even bigger. I feel like they're gonna send an actual force behind Green Ball, and I think they may even send Fujitora to Wano as well so they can get Sakazuki back. I don't know if they're gonna send Sengoku and Garp as well. I think Garp is gonna be on his own mission. I think Garp's just gonna be like, I'm not following what you're saying, but I can see Sengoku rolling up as well. So now the Marines have to retrieve Sakazuki from Wano, and I think their team will most likely just be Sengoku and Green Ball going to the island so they can quickly retrieve him and dip out. But as we know, Shanks is also there, and Shanks is actually gonna run into somebody that he was been searching for, and I think that's Blackbeard. And the reason I say Blackbeard's gonna go here is because he knows Sakazuki has been imprisoned. And so wouldn't that be the easiest way for his country to be like enlisted into the world government if he saves the fleet admiral? So Blackbeard will arrive there and he'll be like, oh wait, Shanks is here. And so he's going to be surprised by Shanks being there, and this is when their fire is going to break out. But at the exact same time, Green Ball and Sengoku are going to arrive as well. Now Blackbeard could either try to talk his way into them helping him, or he's just going to get flattened by Shanks. One of the two things are going to happen. Now if you want to say that Blackbeard is able to talk them into helping him and they go up against Shanks, which I don't think Green Ball will be opposed to, as he has Sengoku next to him and he has Blackbeard on his side as well, and Blackbeard's like, I was trying to rescue Sakazuki so I can do whatever, and obviously they're gonna hear that. Sengoku's gonna know what he's up to, since Sengoku's already experienced what kind of nonsense Blackbeard's up to, but if Blackbeard's really on their side, then they might as well help. And so with all this chaos going on, I think Yamato will be guarding Udon, as she is somebody strong, and I think they know that Udon has to be well protected. I can see the Scabbards as well, so the Scabbards and Yamato are going to try to help Shanks, and so they're going to be fighting everybody. But I feel like at this point Luffy would try to chip in as well, since he can feel Shanks and he knows that something's going on with Yamato. So I feel like they're gonna also go down there as well. You can also just have Momo flying back to you and be like, yo, we need help. And so a massive battle for Udon could happen here. And so out of this massive war, which side would win? Well, I'm gonna assume that if Luffy is recovered enough, and obviously Kid and Law recovered enough, and obviously everything just goes as planned, then I can see Shanks, Luffy, and everybody else being Sengoku, Green Ball, and Blackbeard. And the only reason I say this is because the sheer amount of numbers the Onigashima raid people have alongside the Redhead Pirates. Remember, it's just not Shanks, it's the Redhead Pirates as well, and the Redhead Pirates are extremely strong. So if they're able to chip in, and remember Kuzan isn't here with him, I feel like the Luffy and Shanks side will win. And so what happens to the One Piece world after this? Well, Sakazuki is a prisoner, Big Mom's a prisoner, and like the world government, I mean, the only other thing I can think of is if the world government just completely annihilates Wano. The whole situation with Hachinosu, that would be also crazy as well, because you gotta think about it. When all of this is going on, you then have Hachinosu's gonna go on alongside it, the reverie, everything in the One Piece will be tipped on its head. And so this would be an absolutely crazy scenario if it did happen inside the story. And so when we now move on past Wano and then we move into the other arcs like Egghead, well, Kizaru doesn't exist, Fujitora is out there doing who knows what. Emu is probably mad as hell since the whole world is burning down around them. I mean, as I said before, I could see Emu literally just blowing up Wano if they decide to wait on not blowing up Lelouchia. I can see them blowing up Wano, but if obviously Lelouchia's been blown up, then Wano is quite literally just a weird island. They've got two massive people just in a prison. We then have the Blackbeard pirates, well, half of it's being defeated, Blackbeard's gone, so Kuzan I think would take his place as a Yonko if he wants to stay as a Yonko. But if he feels like, oh, well, nothing here, then he's no longer a pirate. Shanks and Luffy are probably the biggest winners out of everybody here, so I don't really know what to do past this point. Well, Egghead would be a breeze. There's no one to really stop Luffy. What, Fujitoro's gonna go there, he's gonna lose. Roscoe's whole bounty system would be messed up as well, since a lot of the admirals have been defeated. Well, every admiral aside from what, Fujitora. So yeah, everything, it would be a mess. It would be a complete entire mess. At this point, with Sakazuki defeated, I can actually see Kuzan returning back to Marines and being like, well, you guys need a fleet admiral, so I'm here. And from him, I can see him going to Wano and probably just dealing with everything there and getting Sakazuki back. But at that point, the One Piece world is in a mess, and at that point, I mean, look, listen, Luffy's gonna be way far ahead. At that point, he'll probably go to Elbaf. He would have done everything on Elbaf. It would just be a massive thing. I can also see, obviously, Garp, he wouldn't have to go down and fight Kuzan, since at that point, if Sakazuki's gone, then, I mean, look, listen, if Sakazuki's gone and Blackbeard's gone and his like role as a fleet admiral could be there, I could see him being like, okay, well, I'm gonna take that fleet admiral spot. And so I could just see the world being flipped on its head. I think the Revolutionary Army will be able to strike at this point, because who else is really stopping them? Emu is probably at his weakest since the Marines aren't doing their job. I mean, the world government, what are they gonna do? I mean, the Holy Knight's the only thing in their way. And so I can see the Revolutionary Army really stepping up. And, well, I mean, what else is gonna happen after that? I mean, the One Piece world is probably just going in Luffy's favor, and so Luffy probably wins. You have the whole thing with Cross Guild and everyone. I just feel like at this point, when you have so many like of the major people just down, and them being mainly on the Marine side, and all of like Luffy's opponents, like Luffy at this point has fought Blackbeard and Akainu. He's avenged both of his like major losses for Ace. Yeah, there isn't anything much to say. I mean, Kuzan can do a few things, but I think at this point he's more on the side of how the world is going to become, of how like Dragon wants to change the world and everything. So I don't know if Sakazuki's gonna be able to get that role back, and he will just be under Kuzan's control. And so yeah, the One Piece world is gonna be more in Luffy's favor. So with that being said, why don't I wrap up the video? So in conclusion, if Sakazuki and Kizaru went to Wano, it would be a massive mess. Literally, it would be a massive mess. There were like way too many routes the story can go down, and the routes that the story can go down can either go heavily in the Marine's favor, heavily in Luffy's favor, and even like the middle path, which I did go down, I tried to go down, it muddles up the story. So in conclusion, it's pretty good that Kizaru and Sakazuki did not go to Wano, because the story would be a complete and utter mess. And the only one that will probably benefit from this, if it was to happen inside the story, would be Luffy. That's about it. That's about it. Yes, the end of the video. How I came to this scenario, well, it's pretty simple. I saw everybody do Kizaru, and I was like, you know what, he was talking to Sakazuki, so why don't I just nudge him along? And so yeah, the scenario as a whole could be a massive mess. It just depends how you want to have everything play out. It can go way too many different ways at way too many different crossroads. But yeah, so yeah, I love you guys for the support, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.